In today's news, police making headway into the investigation of the shooting death of the 4-year-old. The teachers' union applies pressure on the government to reach an industrial agreement, and the country pays final respects to a former House Speaker. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jareno Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. Thanks for joining us. Police reporting that 2 male suspects have been arrested in connection with the tragic shooting of a 4-year-old boy on Tuesday night. Police have also officially identified the youngster as Kenton Seymour Jr. of DeVoe Street. According to police, a 27-year-old of Fleming Street and a 22-year-old of Rupert Dean Lane are being questioned in connection with that shooting death. The incident unfolded shortly before 10 p.m. as young Kenton was with his parents when 2 males armed with handguns ran past the vehicle the family was in, firing shots at another male. Kenton was reportedly sitting in the arms of his mother. He was taken to hospital where he later died. Police say the 27-year-old suspect was arrested around 11:20 p.m. on Tuesday night at his home, while the 22-year-old was arrested around 4:20 p.m. Wednesday afternoon at Ferguson Street off Ponciana Drive. Police are continuing their investigations. After accidentally shooting his accomplice while attempting to kill another man on Monday, a 28-year-old man turned himself into police. According to Police Press Liaison Chief Superintendent Chrislyn Skippings, police are questioning the male, a resident of Montel Heights, in connection with the shooting death of 24-year-old Kendrick Lewis Jr. of Cowpen Road. It was shortly after 1 p.m. on the day in question. The pair, along with another male, all occupants of an orange Nissan March, pulled up to a residence on Pigeon Plum Street, Pinewood Gardens. They exited the vehicle armed with handguns. However, their intended target was able to see them and was able to make good his escape, even as they fired shots at him. During the ordeal, Lewis was shot by his co-conspirator. The 28-year-old, according to Chief Superintendent Skippings, surrendered to officers at the Criminal Investigation Department around 7 p.m. Wednesday. Active police investigations continue. This past Tuesday, gun violence rocked the streets of the capital, with 3 shootings happening within the span of 6 hours. Many are wondering if the Bahamas is on pace to break the record number of murders in 1 year based on the level of gun violence in recent months. Minister of National Security Wayne Munroe says the issue is the mentality of young people in the country feeling as if it is necessary to use firearms to solve their disputes. Then the same people group together to form gangs. The minister contends the aim of the government is to divert young men who may be on the path of criminality away from such.
The issue of crime is simply this. These folks have reached a point where they have gone into this life of crime. The police will catch them, we will punish them, but the challenge is for us to stop people joining these gangs. That has to do with socialization, that has to do with breaking the back of letting these young men grow up untamed and wild. That's a responsibility of us all, and it's a challenge for us all to step up to it. The government will provide support where appropriate, and we are in fact championing programs to seek to, as the old people say, bend the tree while it is young.
Deputy Leader of the Free National Movement, Shannon Cartwright, on learning of the shooting deaths of the 4-year-old and a 47-year-old man on Hospital Lane, called for more action from the government to address what he calls a record pace of killings. When asked for a response, Minister Munroe says the killings did not just start when the Progressive Liberal Party came into office in September of 2021, but is the result of at-risk youth as young as 15 years old being on a path of criminality. The minister reiterated that the National Development Plan Vision 2040 outlined what must be done, adding that there are some who will have to face consequences and others who can still be rehabilitated.
To stop the killing, we have to stop young men having this mindset. And it is disingenuous for politicians to play politics with crime. In Vision 2040, a multi-partisan effort, we identified what we had to do. The programs were stopped, we're restarting them. We're adding new ones. It's for us to raise our children correctly, and the government will assist with the youth at risk and put in place program and safety nets. For you to have two young men in Yellow L that decide to get in a fight and then a shootout, that's a long-seated problem that you have to get that mindset out of young men. When you have in Fleming Street two fellas chasing another fella and shooting after him, that is a long-seated problem that these young men feel that is normal to do.
When asked to expand specifically on diverting youth from a life of crime, Minister Monroe said initially diversion programs were designed for those aged 15 and older. However, the minister revealed the Royal Bahamas Defense Force is running a pilot program at Sybil Strawn Primary School with the aim to develop a program with the Ministry of Education for at-risk youth,
where we are identifying young men who may be a little off track. They were subjected to summer training. We will follow them now during the year, and we will look at developing a program along with the Ministry of Education where youth at risk from as young as primary school transitioning to high school are identified, and we hope to have as a part of their mandatory training. Then they have to have these sessions in the summer that will be provided as we see it by the Royal Bahamas Police Force, Royal Bahamas Defense Force, and the Bahamas Department of Corrections officers. And then we will track them through the system to see, are they back on track? Are they still a little off track? If they're still off track, we will have to up the intervention process.
Speaking on the church involvement, Minister Monroe says he can personally vouch that the church community does its part in diversion efforts through youth groups. Minister Monroe says his ministry is pushing for the increased involvement of the diversion programs available, saying that he encourages all members of society to re-engage young people, warning that they will either be a part of a wholesome group or a street gang. Police also making headway in their investigations of that vessel that capsized early Sunday morning in waters just off Blackbeard's Key, claiming the lives of at least 17 Haitian migrants that were on board. In a press briefing on Wednesday, Police Commissioner Clayton Fernanda revealed that the captain of the 30-foot speedboat was identified among individuals taken into custody on Sunday. And upon conducting a background check, police made a grim discovery.
We did a background check, and he was charged for human smuggling in the U.S. and was convicted and spent 2 years. Also, he was convicted in Cuba and spent 8 years for drug trafficking.
Commissioner Fernandez says during the search efforts on Sunday, the suspected owner of the vessel, a Bahamian man, was arrested, and police were able to recover a large sum of cash, which they believe to be proceeds with respect to this smuggling matter. Now, despite these findings, police still finding it challenging to identify the victims.
We have not identified any of the victims, the deceased persons, as yet. We have in our possession only 2 identifications that was found on the persons of 2 of the individuals. So we are appealing especially to the Haitian community, and we have our interpreter here present with us. We are appealing to the Haitian community to please assist us in trying to identify any family members.
Commissioner noting that the majority of the victims of Sunday's boating tragedy were staying in New Providence, with some being spread out on various family islands for over a month. And to add to that, 3 came by plane from Haiti about 2 weeks ago. The top cop says authorities believe their planned destination was the United States.
So we are well on the way with this investigation, and as I indicated, our U.S. partners are working closely with us. We are also communicating with our legal department, who is assisting with respect to charges. We are looking at homicide, manslaughter. Once agreed, after putting all of the facts and the evidence together, about 17 counts, operating an unregistered vessel, operating a vessel without the prescribed number of life vests, and operating as an unregistered captain.
On Sunday, it is believed that some 45 people were on board that speedboat. 25 of them were rescued, including 2 Bahamian men. Among the dead was a little girl. With Thursday marking the last day since Bahamas Union of Teachers, the BUT President Belinda Wilson issued an ultimatum for the government to complete negotiations for an industrial agreement within 7 days. Ms. Wilson is now calling for members of her union to get ready for industrial action on Tuesday, August 2nd, when the school year officially begins, stating that the government has had ample notice and sufficient time to sign off on a full industrial agreement. According to Ms. Wilson, members of her union unanimously agreed to take action in June. However, no action was taken at that time due to considerations about industrial action affecting students.
Consideration was given to internal exams, external exams such as BJC and BGCSE, and report cards. Well, you have worked overtime and ensured that the examinations were held and the report cards were completed. Be advised that I will not be signing any subpar, incomplete, or partial industrial agreement. I will sign off on the financial proposal and the full industrial agreement that you, the members, voted for us to accept and for me to sign off on.
Giving an update on the progress of negotiations, the Bahamas Union of Teachers president says she has been in daily contact with the government's lead negotiator since last week Thursday when the ultimatum was issued. She says there are still articles that have not been agreed upon, with one in particular causing an impasse.
I'm certain that the union is following the law in this matter and is unable to agree to this article, which violates the law and also violates your rights as a teacher and as an employee in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. As for the financial package, inclusive of the salary increases, lump sum payments, and other benefits, I'm still awaiting the government's final position. Although based on information received, they have been in discussions with the Ministry of Finance over the last few days up to yesterday.
While not being specific on what any potential industrial action will be, Ms. Wilson says further instructions will be given later on what actions will be taken, calling for solidarity within the union with her members. According to Ms. Wilson, negotiations have been ongoing since 2019 as her union seeks a salary increase for teachers, among other benefits. We'll take a break here, and we'll be right back after these commercials.